Hi, Verl Workman here. It's Big V. Today we're talking teams, and we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. Now, you hear us talk about artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence without emotional intelligence is just a bunch of noise. How to create emotional connections with your clients is the key to today's video. As you listen to what I talk about today, I'm going to give you some real strategies on how to think and how to utilize threats that are in the marketplace or objections, how to use emotional intelligence languaging to eliminate threats and get people to move from a negative emotion to a positive emotion, re-engaging them in the sales process. And at the very end of the video, I'm going to give you the entire emotional transformation system that we use at Workman Success on creating threat-based marketing modules that we use for value adds to our clients. Here's the focus. What is emotional transformation communication style? That proprietary language used by Workman Success Systems and our emotional intelligence team is designed to transform negative emotion like fear or helpless into a positive emotion like hopeful or enthusiastic or happy. We move a negative emotion to a positive emotion. If you look at the emotional transformation wheel, you can see the negative emotions in the center, and then as it moves out, you can see all of the emotions that are associated with those. And we look at the opposite or the emotion that's on the opposite of the wheel to go from the negative to the positive emotion. Emotional transformation communication, its goal is to overcome objections and to remove threats. It's a communication strategy that's specifically designed to address the objections, the threats, the negative emotions that buyers and sellers are feeling in today's market. And they're real. You can't tell someone that the way they're feeling isn't accurate. When somebody has a negative emotion, I don't think I can move forward because rates are too high. It's not the knowledge of rates being high, but it's how it makes them feel. They'd like to move forward, but they feel stuck. And so with the right languaging and the right resources, we're able to move someone who feels stuck into optimistic and moving forward and looking and hopeful. And that's what it happens with. So it starts by identifying threats. Have you ever done a SWOT analysis where you break down your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats? If you look at that quadrant, you divide it by 4. Next to the strengths, you would write internal. What are the things that you have that are strong for you? Good negotiator, great relationships, I like people, I know the inventory, I love real estate. Your weaknesses, attention to detail, scheduling, fake work, I don't know how to delegate. The opportunities are opportunities you see in the market that you're currently not taking advantage of that might include things like new home builders, for sale by owners, work in my database at a higher level, commissions inc. or high volume lead generation. And then threats. The threats in the marketplace are things you can't control, but they exist because they affect how people feel about the market. Increased interest rates, the class action lawsuit, wars that are happening around the world, the economy, the cost of living, the cost of rent going up, the house pricing increases. All of those threats create negative emotions. I would like you to change the way that you look at threats. Instead of looking at threats as objections, I want you to look at threats as opportunities. How do you message differently to the market so that when other agents are pulling back and they're not engaged because of the threats, you're using threats to communicate a positive emotion to help eliminate the threat by helping people see that there's a way around those market conditions or what they perceive as being threats. And we do that by using proprietary language and very special scripting in order to move people away from those threats. It's very, very cool. So it starts by identifying the perceived threat. Then understand that emotions are key. You got to understand and be able to describe emotions of both the buyers and the sellers and what they're experiencing. When you understand their emotions and you begin to then put yourself in their shoes, what does it feel like to feel you want to buy a home or you need to sell a home, but you don't think you can move forward? How do you feel? Those feelings are real. Once we understand those negative emotions, then we use the emotions wheel or the emotional transformation system to begin to craft languaging to change the negative emotion into a positive emotion. The emotions wheel is a useful tool for identifying and describing the emotions, and it encourages you to start with basic emotions and then work your way out to the more broad emotions that are associated with that negative threat. The next thing is we call it shift, our shift modules. These are the unique methods or strategies that we've developed and designed to address that specific threat. They're named and they described in a way that makes the client feel like they need your service in order to eliminate the threat. Now think about that. Number 6 is we want to clearly define the outcome. So when you're building a threat-based messaging, you want to clearly define the outcome. It's important to be clear what happens when the buyer or seller uses the system. They move from being frustrated to being excited. They move from being stuck to feeling like they can move forward and optimistic. And so you have to describe the transformation of the emotion that happens when they have a greater understanding of the resources available to them. Transformation is the goal, but it only happens when you clearly define the outcome. So emotional transformation being the goal is to transform the prospect's emotional state from negative, stemming from the perceived threat, to positive, resulting in using the system, whether it's mine or yours. So transformation should be clearly communicated, and that emotional transformation needs to be communicated through your scripts in your conversations. So when we have you download a shift module, we give you a story that talks about an agent who was feeling a certain way because he recognized that a client was feeling stuck because of what they'd heard in the news. And the agent wanted to help the client move from being stuck, so they found a solution to the problem and they changed the messaging so the client could move from being stuck to being optimistic. And the result was the client started looking at homes and then ended up purchasing a house. Well, let me give you the other two and then I'll give you a couple of stories or examples. The next thing is it requires practice. So when you're doing emotional transformation, this emotional intelligence is something that I continue to work on. If you were to ask my wife, she would tell you, I don't have any emotional intelligence. So you know it's something that it's a life study. And there's people that spend their life's work studying emotional intelligence. We are using basic framework to just make progress. We certainly don't believe that we're experts in it. There's some great experts that you should follow. It requires practice. Emotional transformation communication is a skill that requires practice. That's why with all of our emotional transformation shift modules, we always put a script in there. How you talk to the client, how the client responds as the objections they give you, and how it creates the emotional transformation. The more you practice the scripts, when you're with a client, it feels and flows smoothly instead of feeling like you're struggling through a script. The bottom line of emotional intelligence and this emotional transformation, and this is number 10, is the ultimate goal is that it can change lives. When somebody who is stuck and they can't move forward because they're emotionally handicapped by the information coming at them from the news and all the negative publicity, they know they need a change that'll help their family and they can't move forward, and you provide a clear path forward, beginning with changing their emotion from not being able to move forward to being able to be hopeful and being optimistic, and then seeing changes happen. When they move that emotion to a positive emotion and they take action and then they find they can get into a home, it changes their lives. The reason we do it isn't to manipulate people or to talk them into doing something they don't want. It's to help them move forward and change their lives when they didn't believe that was even possible. It's helping them overcome their fears, their negative emotions, and then successfully navigate through the buying and selling process. There are so many systems and tools available, but your clients never hear about it because you don't know how to message to them in a way that emotionally gets them to engage. Are you ready to increase your EQ, your emotional intelligence ability, the ability you have to communicate? I remember as we were writing these modules, one of our employees using an emotional intelligence module called the New Construction Advantage was reading through the script of how a buyer was frustrated because they couldn't buy a home because of the new construction and interest rates. And in the program, we talked about the solution. And as he read the solution, he was like, I wonder if I could do that. He went out to his builder and he worked with an agent, was able to get into a home and negotiate a very aggressive settlement so that the builder was able to buy the interest rate down into a place where their family could afford it. What happened is he was able to get the home of his dreams because of the emotional intelligence module that he was creating to share with our clients. Here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you not just an emotional intelligence download. I'm going to give you the emotional transformation communication system. And it teaches you how we create emotional transformation by using threat-based marketing. Are you ready for it? Here's my ask. I ask that you download it and that you build a threat and then you share it with us. Come back and share the threat you built and then how you used emotional transformation, and then go out and use it with your clients and give us the results. As you do that, you're going to find people who are ready to move forward. They just need someone like you to message to them differently. Good luck with your emotional intelligence and the emotional transformation system.